single mom was rejected everywhere. Until one unexpected man changed her destiny. The security camera at Riverside Cafe captured it all. A young woman in a worn blazer collecting her resume from the manager, her shoulders slumping in defeat as she received yet another rejection. What the camera didn't record was the moment she stepped outside and crumpled to the curb, tears streaming down her face as she calculated how many more days she could feed her daughter before their eviction notice became reality. Nor did it capture the tall figure who paused on his morning coffee run, watching the stranger's breakdown with unexpected recognition in his eyes. Maya Collins had no way of knowing that the man approaching her, the same man whose name appeared at the top of every rejection letter she'd received from publishing houses across the city, was about to offer her not just a job, but a chance to reclaim the dream she'd abandoned when her daughter was born. And neither of them could have possibly imagined how their unlikely connection would heal wounds they'd both carried for years, proving that sometimes our greatest opportunities arrive disguised as our darkest moments. If you're already feeling the pull of this unexpected encounter between two strangers whose paths were destined to cross, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us how life's most painful rejections can sometimes lead us exactly where we need to be, and how the right person entering our lives at the right moment can change everything. Maya Collins was out of options. At 32, the single mother had spent the past 3 weeks applying for every job within walking distance of her apartment: waitress, cashier, receptionist, anything that would pay the bills and accommodate her schedule as a parent to 7-year-old Zoe. But each application had ended the same way: a sympathetic smile and some version of "we'll call you if something opens up." No one ever called. Today's rejection at Riverside Cafe had been particularly crushing. The manager had actually seemed interested until Maya mentioned she couldn't work evenings because of her daughter. The woman's expression had shifted immediately, her smile becoming fixed as she explained they needed flexible staff who could cover any shift. Maya understood the subtext: single mothers need not apply. Now, sitting on the curb outside the cafe, she allowed herself a moment of despair. 3 weeks of rejections. 2 weeks until rent was due. 4 days of groceries left in the apartment. The math was merciless. She had a master's degree in English literature, for God's sake. Before Zoe, she'd been an editorial assistant at Meridian Publishing, with dreams of becoming an acquisitions editor. She'd been on track, too. Her boss had been grooming her for promotion, impressed by her instinct for promising manuscripts. Then she'd gotten pregnant. The father, her boyfriend of 2 years, had made his position clear: it was the baby or him. Maya had chosen her child without hesitation, but the decision had cost her not just her relationship but, ultimately, her career. Pregnancy complications had forced her to take early leave, and by the time she was ready to return, the company had restructured, eliminating her position. For 7 years, she'd cobbled together a living with freelance editing jobs, virtual assistant work, and the occasional substitute teaching position. It had been enough, barely, until 3 weeks ago, when her main client, a self-help author who'd provided steady editing work, had decided to go in a different direction with his new book. The timing couldn't have been worse. Rent had just increased, Zoe needed new shoes for school, and Maya's ancient laptop, essential for her freelance work, had finally died after years of sputtering warnings. "Excuse me." The deep voice startled Maya from her thoughts. She looked up, hastily wiping tears from her cheeks, to find a tall man in his 40s standing a few feet away. He wore a charcoal gray suit that screamed expensive tailoring, his dark hair threaded with distinguished silver at the temples. "Are you all right?" he asked, his tone genuinely concerned rather than merely polite. "Fine," Maya said automatically, embarrassed to be caught crying in public. "Just having a moment." The man nodded, studying her with unexpected intensity. "Those moments happen to the best of us." He gestured to the space beside her. "May I?" Maya shrugged, too exhausted to maintain social niceties. The man sat down on the curb, seemingly unconcerned about his expensive suit touching the sidewalk. "I'm Daniel," he said, offering his hand. "Daniel Reed." The name registered dimly in Maya's mind, but she couldn't place it. Maya Collins, she replied, briefly shaking his hand. I couldn't help noticing you coming out of the cafe, Daniel said. Job hunting. Maya nodded, too drained to be surprised by his perception. Unsuccessfully. What kind of work are you looking for? At this point? Anything that pays. Maya gave a hollow laugh. I've applied to every restaurant, shop, and office within walking distance. No one wants to hire a single mom with limited availability. Daniel was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. What did you do before? Professionally, I mean. The question stirred a familiar ache. I was an editorial assistant at Meridian Publishing. Before my daughter was born. Something flickered across Daniel's face, recognition, perhaps, or surprise. You worked in publishing? Briefly. 7 years ago. Maya sighed. Another lifetime. And now? Freelance editing, virtual assistant work, whatever I can find that lets me be home when my daughter gets out of school. She wasn't sure why she was sharing these details with a stranger, except that there was something in his manner that invited confidence. But my main client just dropped me, and no one seems to be hiring. Daniel nodded, his expression unreadable. What's your daughter's name? Zoe. She's 7. And her father? Maya stiffened slightly. Not in the picture. Daniel seemed to sense her discomfort and changed direction. You mentioned editing experience. What kind of material? Mostly self-help books, some business manuscripts. A few novels. Maya shrugged. I take what I can get. Do you enjoy it? The editing. The question caught her off guard. It had been so long since anyone had asked about her professional satisfaction rather than her ability to make ends meet. I love it, she admitted. Finding the heart of a story, helping writers clarify their vision. There's nothing like it. She smiled ruefully. But passion doesn't pay the bills. Daniel was quiet again, seeming to consider something. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card, offering it to Maya. I might have an opportunity for you, he said. If you're interested. Maya accepted the card, glancing down at it. The simple white card bore only a name, phone number, and title. Asterisk Daniel Reed. Editor-in-Chief. Reed Literary Asterisk. Her head snapped up, eyes widening as she finally placed his name. You're that Daniel Reed? From Reed Literary. He nodded, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Maya stared at him in disbelief. Reed Literary was one of the most prestigious independent publishing houses in the country, known for discovering literary stars and producing critically acclaimed bestsellers. And Daniel Reed was its legendary editor-in-chief, famous for his unerring instinct for exceptional manuscripts. He was also the name at the top of the rejection letter she'd received 6 months ago, when she'd submitted her own novel in a moment of desperate hope. I don't understand, Maya said finally. What opportunity? I need a new assistant editor, Daniel explained. Someone with a good eye, editing experience, and the ability to work independently. Based on what you've told me, you might be a good fit. Maya's mind raced. Assistant editor at Reed Literary would be a dream job, the kind of position that could transform her career and, by extension, her life with Zoe. But it seemed too good to be true, this random encounter leading to such an opportunity. Why me? She asked bluntly. You don't know anything about me. Daniel's expression turned thoughtful. Let's call it instinct. I've built my career on recognizing potential, whether in manuscripts or in people. He paused. And I know more than you think. I remember your name from Meridian. You worked with Catherine Winters, didn't you? Maya nodded, surprised. She was my supervisor. Catherine and I go way back. She mentioned a promising assistant she'd lost to maternity leave, said it was a real loss to the industry. Daniel shrugged. When you mentioned Meridian, it clicked. The coincidence seemed almost too perfect, but Maya was in no position to question good fortune. Still, practical concerns intruded on her momentary hope. I appreciate the offer, she said carefully, but I have constraints. My daughter gets out of school at 3:30, and I don't have reliable after-school care. Most professional positions require longer hours. We can work around that, Daniel said easily. Reed Literary is small enough to be flexible. You could work from home some days, adjust your hours as needed. He smiled. I'm more interested in the quality of your work than the exact hours you keep. Maya hesitated, still searching for the catch. When would you want me to start? How's Monday? That gives you the rest of the week to arrange things. Daniel stood, brushing off his suit pants. Come to the office tomorrow at 10 for a formal interview and to discuss details. The address is on the card. Maya rose as well, feeling slightly dazed by the sudden turn of events. Thank you. I'll be there. As Daniel walked away, Maya stared down at the business card in her hand, half expecting it to disappear like a mirage. Had she really just been offered a job at one of the most respected publishing houses in the city? By its famous editor-in-chief, no less? It wasn't until she was halfway home that another thought struck her. Daniel Reed had rejected her novel. Did he know she was the author? Had he even read it, or had it been screened out by a junior editor before reaching his desk? The questions nagged at her as she climbed the stairs to the small two-bedroom apartment she shared with Zoe. Their home was modest, but carefully maintained. Maya had always been determined that her daughter would grow up in a warm, stable environment despite their financial limitations. Mom, Zoe called as Maya entered, looking up from where she was doing homework at the kitchen table. How did it go? Did you get the job at the cafe? Maya set down her purse, taking in her daughter's hopeful expression. Zoe understood more about their situation than Maya would have liked. Children were perceptive, especially bright ones like her daughter. No, sweetie, not that one, Maya said, hanging up her jacket. But something else might have come up. Something better. Zoe's eyes widened. Really? What kind of job? At a publishing house. The kind of place that makes books. Like the ones you edit on your computer? Maya nodded, sitting down beside her daughter. Exactly like that. But I'd be working in their office some days, helping choose which books they publish. Zoe considered this. Would you still be home when I get back from school? Yes, Maya assured her, though she wasn't entirely certain how the logistics would work. We'd figure it out together. Is it the place that sent you the letter that made you cry? The innocent question caught Maya off guard. She hadn't realized Zoe had noticed her reaction to the rejection letter months ago. It is, actually, Maya admitted. But this is different. The man in charge there wants to interview me. Zoe nodded solemnly. You should wear your blue dress. The one with the flowers. You look pretty in that one. Maya smiled, touched by her daughter's simple confidence. That's good advice. Now, how about dinner? I'm thinking pasta tonight. As they prepared dinner together, Zoe carefully tearing lettuce for the salad while Maya boiled water for pasta, Maya allowed herself to hope, just a little, that this unexpected opportunity might be the break they'd been waiting for. The next morning, after dropping Zoe at school, Maya stood outside the Reed Literary offices in her blue floral dress, gathering her courage. The publishing house occupied the top floor of a converted warehouse in the city's arts district, its entrance marked by a simple brass plaque rather than flashy signage. Taking a deep breath, Maya pushed open the door and stepped into a space that felt like a physical manifestation of her abandoned dreams. The reception area was warm and inviting, with comfortable seating, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, and soft lighting that created the perfect reading atmosphere. Framed book covers line the walls, all titles published by Reed Literary, many of them award winners and bestsellers. May I help you? The receptionist asked, a young woman with a friendly smile. I'm Maya Collins. I have an appointment with Daniel Reed at 10. The receptionist's eyebrows rose slightly, but her professional demeanor didn't waver. Of course. Mr. Reed is expecting you. Please have a seat, and I'll let him know you're here. Maya sat, trying to calm her nerves. She'd brought her portfolio, samples of her editing work, recommendations from freelance clients, and her resume, though Daniel hadn't specifically asked for it. Better to be over-prepared than under, especially for an opportunity this significant. She didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, Daniel emerged from a hallway, dressed more casually than the day before in dark jeans and a button-down shirt, though still impeccably put together. Maya, he greeted her warmly. Thank you for coming. Follow me. He led her through the office, a thoughtfully designed space where editors worked at desks surrounded by manuscripts and books. The atmosphere was focused, but not tense. People looked up and smiled as they passed, some nodding and greeting. Daniel's office was at the end of the hall, a corner space with windows on two sides providing abundant natural light. Unlike the stereotypical editor's office, it wasn't overwhelmed with paper. Instead, it was organized and minimalist, with a few key photographs and mementos displayed on shelves. "Please sit," Daniel said, gesturing to a comfortable chair across from his desk. "Would you like coffee? Tea?" "Coffee would be great," Maya admitted. "I was too nervous to make any this morning." Daniel smiled, pressing an intercom button to request 2 coffees from someone named Jamie. Then he sat across from Maya, his manner direct but not intimidating. "So," he began, "tell me more about your experience at Meridian. Catherine spoke highly of you, but I'd like to hear your perspective." For the next hour, Maya found herself engaged in the most thorough and thoughtful job interview of her career. Daniel asked insightful questions about her editing philosophy, her approach to different genres, and her ability to balance multiple projects. He seemed genuinely interested in her responses, occasionally nodding or making notes. When Jamie brought their coffee, a young man whom Maya guessed was an editorial assistant, Daniel paused the interview to introduce them. "Jamie's been with us for 2 years," he explained. "Started as an intern and proved himself indispensable. Mr. Reed has a habit of finding people in unexpected places," Jamie said with a grin. "I was working at a bookstore when he came in for a signing and ended up offering me an internship based on my book recommendations." After Jamie left, Daniel turned back to Maya. "That's something you should know about me. I trust my instincts about people. It's served me well in this business." "Is that why you offered me this opportunity?" Maya asked. "Instinct?" Daniel considered her question. "Partly. But also because I recognized something in you yesterday, a passion for books, for stories, that can't be taught." He leaned forward slightly. "The publishing industry isn't just about grammar and plot structure. It's about believing in the power of words to change lives. You have that belief. I can see it." Maya was touched by his perception. "I do. It's why I kept freelancing even when it would have been easier to find a more stable job in another field." "Which brings me to an important question," Daniel said, his tone shifting slightly. "Why did you submit your novel to Reed Literary 6 months ago?" The direct question caught Maya off guard. "So he did know." "You remember my submission?" "I remember every promising manuscript that crosses my desk," Daniel replied. "Even the ones I ultimately reject." Maya felt a flush of embarrassment. "You thought it was promising?" "I thought it showed tremendous potential," Daniel corrected. "But it wasn't ready." The core story was powerful, a young woman finding her voice after trauma, but the execution needed work. The pacing was uneven, and the protagonist's journey felt incomplete. His assessment was fair, Maya had to admit. She'd written the novel in snatches of time between freelance jobs and parenting, often too exhausted to revise properly. "I rejected it," Daniel continued, "but I made notes for the author, for you, about what might strengthen it." "Did you receive those?" Maya shook her head. "The letter just said it wasn't right for your list at this time." Daniel frowned. "That's our standard rejection, but I included a personal note with specific feedback. You should have received it." "I didn't," Maya said, a small spark of hope kindling. He hadn't rejected her work outright. He'd seen potential in it. "That's unfortunate," Daniel said, making a note. "I'll look into what happened. But back to my question, why did you submit to